Welcome to Two Mental Chicks. Today we've got Kay and
Jay.
And we're here to help you with your mental... Well, we're not here to help you, actually. Well, we're kind of here to help you, but not really. What we're here to do is talk about what we've been through so that you guys feel comfortable enough to talk about what you've been through with your friends and your neighbors and to kind of work through your stuff.
Yeah,
So,
coming up with some solutions.
Yeah, exactly. So you've had a week. You want to tell us about what you've been going through? Because I've done some research. I'm the research queen, so I look things up a lot. I'm going to be the numbers gal, if you will.
And I'm the reactionary of the two.
Yeah, we both have stuff going on, but we're going to focus on whoever's got the most going on that week. And kind of like you guys out there in Two Mental Chicks land, when you have stuff going on, you really don't choose what those things are. So when we choose our topics, we're really going to stick close to home. So I thought it was interesting what you were talking to me earlier in the week, going through relapse. And I looked some stuff up. And what I found was a lot of people are going through relapse. And a lot of them have made it through. You know, some of them haven't. You got your Ernest Hemingways, your Amy Winehouses, your Judy Garlands and people like that don't make it out of their alcoholism and drug abuse. But then you've got your, Robert Downey Jr.'s and your Eminems. He made it through. Eminem, you know, if he can make it through, we can make it through. So tell me what you went through.
Well, any kind of trigger that happens, could be a phone call, could be just situational in your life, can easily drag you down that rabbit hole once again. And I think when you go through something like that, it's best not to beat yourself up, because that's what creates the cycle good to go over again, because you want to continue to destroy yourself because you feel so bad the next day after drinking so much or harming yourself, and you drink again or whatever.
What the hell, huh?
Yeah, because you want to keep doing that. The strategy is to stop yourself. And yeah, I felt really bad last weekend.
Right.
And I felt so bad. I never wanted to feel that way again. So I was smart by not drinking again. I stopped. Forward.
Well, you know, I was looking it up after we talked and you had reached out, which I strongly recommend reaching out. I looked up the number for you guys. Again, I'm going to say it several times throughout, but Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the number is 1-800-662-HELP or 4357. If you ever need help or need to call suicide or helpline, it's 988. Just call and reach out. Janice has done it before and has had help. But what I was going to say is when I started looking things up, what I found was there are stages to relapse, that it doesn't just happen one day, all of a sudden you decide to drink, that there's an emotional phase, a mental phase, and then the physical phase. So the emotional phase is when you feel those feelings of anger or hurt or helplessness. And then there's the mental phase when you think about the drinking. And then there's the physical phase when you actually act on the thoughts or do the drinking. Do you feel like you stopped yourself during those phases?
Initially, no. Initially, the stages happened to encourage the drinking, which I did. Mm-hmm. And it was post-drinking is where I made that decision, an active decision, to reach out to a friend, and talk it out and just do those simple things we talked about last week. Make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Do a puzzle. Drink a glass of water. Anything.
Put your socks on.
Put your socks on. Just do whatever.
Yeah.
Even though it may not feel normal, do it anyway.
Right.
And you'll be surprised how you'll come out the other end okay.
Yeah. Make it normal. Some of the things, relapses happen. They say it happens usually within 90 days of getting sober, but then there's other times, like within a year or something. I'll have statistics as we go, but they say that there's different triggers. There's environmental triggers, emotional triggers, and exposure triggers. So environmental, like people, places, social events, like, if your mom calls and you're used to drinking while you talk, then when your mom calls, you'll feel like drinking while you talk. Or emotional triggers like your anger, your hopelessness, if you can't pay your bills all of a sudden. So do you feel like there was a definite trigger for you?
Yes, always family, phone, being on the phone, unproductive conversations that lead nowhere. And I've learned since last weekend to identify the problem. That was a big achievement for me because I was able to see that, hey, here's a pattern. Every time I talk to my family on the phone, I get jacked up and want to dive headfirst into a bottle of alcohol. Mm-hmm. And now that I've come to that realization, I know the trigger and how to stop it, how to get off the phone. When you feel that pressure, you gotta go. Gotta go. Whatever it may be, even if it's environmental. Like today I was mowing the lawn and a wasp decided to land on my mower. If that would have happened to me last weekend, I probably would have dove into a bottle of alcohol.
Really?
Yeah.
Just
But now
wasp.
I just know, okay, go inside, wait, wasp will leave, So, there's different solutions other than jumping into a vat of alcohol.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, and they say you should create a relapse prevention plan. I'm going to throw some statistics your way. That 1 out of 10 people in America have alcohol abuse disorder. So we're not alone, people that are going through alcoholism. And they say that 7 out of 10 people will relapse. And that during holidays, relapse is about 150%. They say that after 2 years of sobriety, 40% of people are still at risk for relapse. So this is a thing that happens. And it happens to everybody. It's very unusual for anyone to go through any kind of mental or substance abuse and not have some sort of relapse, don't you think?
Oh, it's inevitable. I mean, you have to live in the world, and it's stressful, and there's triggers everywhere you look. Mm-hmm. Whatever it might be, drugs, alcohol, it's all there right in front of us every day, and you have to walk through that vicious forest all the time.
So what have you been doing, say, in the last week? I know this has been a struggle since we last did our podcast.
Realizing drinking is poison for me, and if I drink too much, I'm psychotic. It poisons your nervous system, your mind, your emotions. You're harm to yourself, you're a harm to others. It's so detrimental, and it's not fun. And I think just coming to that epiphany that I don't have to drink.
Right. And it was a simple one, wasn't it?
Very.
That's what's so strange about it, is that once we get there, it's almost like a non-thing. I know I don't have a drinking problem now, but did when I was younger. So when I was younger, I used to drink a lot with you, as a matter of fact, because we've been together since, how long have we been friends?
1979.
79. Oh my God, we're getting old. Anywho, I used to drink a lot when I was young, and even into my 40s, and quit drinking probably the same way it's happening to you. It just lost its luster. It just, I did have relapses where I would drink, and the very last time I drank, I had 5-inch heels. I'll never forget it. And I had 3 margaritas, and we were at a burlesque show. And I got in the parking lot, and it was freezing, and it started snowing and sleeting outside, and I'm like, oh, let's run to the car, because I was obviously drunk, and did a face. Nah, it wasn't a face plant. It was a knee-hand plant straight into the parking lot and really hurt myself badly. I can't have another margarita ever. I just can't.
I think it's that physical pain that I experienced last weekend, being very drunk and even hurting myself, because you feel this sense you want to punish yourself. Well, in the middle of the night when you wake up after you've been drinking like that, there's an emotional pain that's from the alcohol because it just doesn't burn off that fast. I mean,
what do you mean,
it takes
emotional
your
pain?
body a long time to recover from excessive drinking, and the emotions get tangled into that because I never felt more insecure and naked and skinned alive almost. I felt skinned alive. I woke up at 2 a.m. feeling like I'd never been that paranoid in my life, like the worst anxiety attack I've ever
Really?
had.
Do you feel like you failed?
Oh, yeah, I was beating myself up all over the place. And, my roommate was teaching me breathing exercises just to get my heart rate down. And, of course, I took my heart rate medicine. That helped. But I never really slept good that whole night. And I had to get up and go to work the next day. And it just wore me out. And that's when I realized I never wanted to feel that way again.
Yeah, that's good. And that's been a breakthrough since we've even started this.
Yes.
So, I would say to all you people out there in Two Chicks land that don't give up, no matter what you're going through and when you go through it, and don't beat yourself up because we all go through this. And even if it's not alcoholism, it's probably something else that somebody's going through, trying to quit or trying to deal with. Some of the things that they talk about was triggers. Do you find that you think about drinking, or you look back on when you drank and you think of it as a fond memory? Or do you go through any of that where you actually think about it?
No fond memories with drinking, just I like it because it erases your brain. So it's the ultimate brain eraser.
What do you mean? Give me more.
Well, the more you drink, the less you know.
Ignorance is bliss, after all.
Amen.
Okay,
That
that makes sense. So the physical action of it, so that's that last phase, right, where you're actually having the drink, and it starts with one drink. And I know when I quit, before it just started wearing off, I did try and quit, and it was very hard to quit completely because of people I was around and things I did. So I would feel that guilt part too, but I didn't think about it out of control. I did have a drink, and then it's like those last 3 margaritas, I couldn't stop. I had a margarita, and then another margarita, and then another margarita, and stopped because the show was over. So that was out of control drinking. Do you find yours is?
I would have, in your shoes, well, minus the fall in the parking lot.
5-inch heels.
Yeah. I would have found another margarita somewhere.
I know, right? They were so good.
Yeah, I wouldn't have stopped at 3, man. I would have.
So then they say you should have a relapse prevention plan. What do you think about that? Having an actual plan for the future relapse. Do you think that's like giving in and thinking you're going to fail in advance?
That's
like
an
a
interesting
prenup, like
perspective.
saying, "Hey, sign this prenup, but we'll be married forever. But sign this prenup just in case. But I'll love you forever."
It's I don't think it could be like a prenup, I suppose, but I think it's something you really want to do. I don't think that during the time of my heavy drinking, I was perceptive to anybody telling me to stop.
So even if you had a plan, you wouldn't have used this plan.
No.
You'd have been like, plan.
No.
Okay.
What's the Amy Winehouse song? Ain't gonna go to rehab. No, no, no.
Well, she didn't, did she?
No, she didn't.
No, and this is what happens. And so you really have to watch out for your warning signs. One of them is AA. So what's your experience with AA been?
I didn't do very well in AA for me. I was I felt it a shunning experience because they kind of have a chip on, from my perspective. I'm not saying
Yeah.
AA is a bad thing. It's beautiful for millions and millions of people.
Yeah.
For this individual in particular, I didn't feel like I fit in.
Right.
And they didn't even want me there either. I
Really?
had sponsored say, oh, well, maybe you're not really an alcoholic. We don't know that you should be here. So, if anything, it made me drink even more.
Well, I think it's because they don't think you're an alcoholic. And they probably don't think you have an alcohol problem because they see theirs as worse. I don't know about you, but when I went to AA, which was a long, long time ago, and I had to go, it was a situation that I won't get into right now. But I remember going, and the people there were such heavy drug addicts, and they were all there because they had to be because of court. And because of court, a lot of them had their kids taken away from them, and they were, they didn't have jobs, and they were just so bad off that they didn't look at me as having a problem because I was just, old white woman.
Yeah. I've always been employed. Mm-hmm. A homeowner, for God's sakes, that was that shattering. You own your own house and you're an alcoholic? How can that be?
I know. It's really strange.
I felt very judged.
Yeah, I feel that same way too. And it's very strange to me because you would think as an addict or as an alcoholic, there'd be a kinship there.
You would think, but it's very cliquey. Mm-hmm. There is another resource I found to be more helpful than AA, and that's Celebrate Recovery. Mm-hmm. A lot of churches have that program, and it's free. You don't have to be a member of the church. I should have, and next time I'll get their number. You can find them on the internet. It's called Celebrate Recovery. Okay. And it's a better mix, I think, of the most average bears in the forest go there.
Yeah.
So yeah. I felt more received in that situation.
That's awesome. Celebrate Recovery.
Yes.
That's awesome. Look it up. Google Celebrate Recovery. And I'm going to go back here to, if you have issues, Suicide and Crisis Hotline is 988. And the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration is 1-800-662-HELP or 662-4357. You need to be aware of those and don't be afraid to ask for help. We both have. I usually go to family members or friends when I need help. I have not reached out to a suicide hotline. I've only been suicidal once. So this last time when you relapsed, were you suicidal? Or tell me about the whole experience. I'm just going to shut up.
It wasn't suicide. It was self-harm, which I think the drinking, smoking cigarettes is a form of self-harm because we know these things are very harmful to do. And when you initiate the drinking, it's not because I'm at a party, we're having fun, somebody's getting married. It's your trigger was a negative initiate, that this negative energy came out and affected me in a negative way, and I wanted to harm myself.
You mean like something happening in your environment? Physically something happens?
The phone calls.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically your situation is a family member.
Yes. And it's those, especially if you start drinking with negative thoughts in your head already.
Yeah.
You're just going down a slippery slope because you're going to end up, you've already hate yourself enough to drink that much and smoke that much. You're already self-harming. And then you start reaching for sharper objects. Mm. And that's, a lot of people do that. They cut themselves for...
Do you?
Yes. Yeah.
Why do you think you do it?
Because I need to be punished.
Really?
Yes. It's my fault. I shouldn't have been born. Why did these things happen? The list goes on and on and on. And these are things I'm not really I'm not in control of the past.
Right.
I'm not in control of what other people tell me or what other people's actions are. You got to come to the realization that you're in charge of yourself. And you got to make those choices. Do I want to harm myself?
Right.
Do I wake up in the morning and I think, as you had said, do look at the good things in life and the things that are positive in your life. Yeah, make the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, because that was probably the most normal thing I did the next day, was to eat something, sleep, shower, go to work.
Well, that brings us to what I had gone through was the nutrition. What did you find? Well, how did nutrition play into your whole situation? Were you eating? Did you eat?
No, when the initial really bad thing, when I was abducted to Connecticut, I think there was a paradigm shift in myself, because I was in a desperate situation, no money, and I taught myself how not to eat on the road because the funds were very limited and I needed it for gas. So that was my priority.
Right.
So eating became, I taught myself, ignore the hunger, ignore it, it'll go away, and it does. And you can eat a small thing of French fries and that'll last you for 12 hours. And,
wow.
Yeah, and I'm still like that.
Wow. That's incredible. So do you find that when you do eat healthy things? Or do you find yourself eating just crap?
I try to eat healthy, but it's so expensive. And I think my diet is very poor right now. But I'm doing the best I can.
Right.
Just to keep my stomach full and glucose up.
And I know this is weird, but we're all going through financial situations right now. The whole economy is just in a bad state, and it's hard for a lot of us to eat. Do you have recommendations, just as a person going through it yourself? What makes you full? What is the best bang for your buck when you're trying to eat?
I
Just
like
ideas for other people?
Olive oil. Frozen vegetables are excellent because they're easy to make. You throw them in the microwave nowadays. They're all steam in the bag. So at least you can get some vegetables. Maybe go with some just rice and even just ground beef.
Did you find that you forgot to eat when you were drinking?
Yeah, you don't want to eat when you're drinking because you don't want to kill the buzz.
You didn't want to think about it.
No, yeah, eating will kill that buzz right away. So no.
So when you're, okay, so we got meat, rice, things like that'll stay down. Well, when you were drinking, did you draw to foods like that?
No,
Good
you don't want to
foods?
eat. You don't want to eat at all when
Oh,
you're
really?
drunk. No, yeah, no.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely not. The
Well,
last
you
thing
look
you want to do.
great.
Thank
I just
you.
have to say, the stress alcohol diet
Looks
looks
good on
great,
me.
but you don't want to keep that up. Alcoholism can cause your blood sugar to dip really low. It can cause hypoglycemia. It can cause digestive problems, and I know you have digestive problems. Did it make those worse?
They've been in remission for whatever reason. And I don't know if some magic button was pushed in my brain when I was in that coma, but my body changed.
Really?
I don't, knock on wood, if there was any around, I have not had any problems with my digestive system thus far.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful.
Yes.
Something happened in that hospital. So when you quit drinking, then we'll call it the last time. We'll just call it that and see what happens instead of making long-term goals with that. And that way you won't have the whole, oh my God, kicking yourself in the butt. Take it one day at a time, like AA says. Do you have long-term goals? Like, do you have things in your life you want to change?
I do want to continue to lose weight, but I want to do it in a healthier way. I'd like to be stronger physically. I thought about working out again since I wake up at 4 a.m. anyway.
Hey.
I might as well, instead of playing Fallout 4.
Yeah.
Maybe
Get on
I can get
YouTube.
to a gym.
Or you don't even have to do that. Get on YouTube.
Yeah.
You can do a lot of stuff at home.
Yeah, and just
do that.
getting better physical shape, I think, would be my goal
Yoga's
right
good.
now.
And I know you asked for help with your support network. I know I'm part of your support network, and I'm honored for that. And I know that part of it is being honest. You're very honest about your situation. You couldn't, I mean, you'd have to be doing what we're doing for you people out in Mental Chix land. But how hard is that for you to do?
I think I would recommend everybody out there to be honest with yourself more than anybody else. If you want to lie to the world, go right ahead, but don't lie to yourself, because that is where the damage happens.
That's true. Well, and you lie to yourself, and it snowballs on itself. You know, when you quit drinking and then you go back to drinking, you have even more problems. It can cause changes in your mood where it used to be euphoria. You can go into anger and things like that because your liver, once you start getting liver damage, it turns more into anger. You can have cognitive function issues like your memory, your attention can start getting worse and worse. Let's see, you can have increased possibility or chance for mental illnesses. So someone who, say, drinks a whole lot more is probably more apt to be mentally ill, is what they say.
Scientifically, alcohol is alcohol. Ethyl alcohol. It's no different. And it wreaks havoc on the nervous system. It destroys what's called myelinated sheaths that are in your muscle tissue, your nervous system, and it just destroys. I think it was you who was telling me about alcohol and a neuron under a microscope, how it would just shrivel up, you know?
Yeah.
And it when you see alcoholics, they've got telltale, and I had these too, red face,
Yeah.
bloated,
Yeah.
a malaise that just wouldn't stop.
Right.
You're not bright. Your
And
mind's
it
not
interferes.
sharp.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And it interferes with medications. Do you find that your medications are not as effective?
Well, I took myself off of everything, but antibiotics are definitely affected by alcohol. There's certain antibiotics that you cannot drink with because it just doesn't. It erases the efficacy of the antibiotic, so
Right.
it no longer works. And I don't think antidepressants or any of those SSIs and alcohol are a good mix. Sure, you can drink with them, but should you? No.
Right. Probably not. Well, let's talk about some barriers to getting help. Some of the barriers that they list in the research is denial, stigma. How do you feel about the stigma of being an alcoholic?
It's embarrassing, and now that I'm sobering up and I'm looking back on my past and the relationships I've burned bridges with, and rightfully so, nobody wants to hang around with a drunk.
Yeah.
But does that make me beat myself up and say, oh, you might as well go home and getting the scissors out and cutting your throat again and drinking a bottle of vodka?
Right.
No. It means recognize that. Don't go back there. Let it go. It's in the past. Whatever friend you lost them. Just move on and don't do it again. That's all you can do. It's kind of like, well, I hate when I clean my belly button out with a razor blade and throw alcohol on it. It hurts.
It hurts.
Okay, so don't do it.
Yeah, quit doing that stuff.
Yeah.
So the stigma is one of the worst things, I think, because it is embarrassing. It's terribly embarrassing. So stigma is the worst, I think, because you have to get over your ego. You have to get over yourself. Don't you think?
Yes, you do, and you have to swallow that pride because it'll come back and haunt you. I know it does for me. I'm still loosely associated with some of the people that I've lost because of my alcoholism. And will they become friends again? I don't know.
Right.
But it makes you blush knowing that these people are loosely in your life still. But you've got to forgive yourself, and you've got to let good things happen. You've got to Be grateful you have running water, or grateful you've got beautiful friends like you that make it worthwhile waking up in the morning and being okay, you know?
Right.
I think taking stock in the smallest of small things that could make you feel at least peaceful.
Now that makes a lot of sense, because the more peace you have or feel, the more you don't want to drink. Why would you want to run away if it's all good, right?
And you don't.
Yeah.
The more you become sober, the less you want to drink, the less you don't want to feel that feeling anymore.
Well, one of the other one of the other barriers that they have is access to treatment. Do you feel like that's a big barrier in your life?
It's definitely a barrier for people. It's very hard to get into the right professionals. I don't think this is just in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. And just for the record, Chix people, this is all our opinions. If you need help, find help. Okay, go back to it, Jay. I
Agreed.
didn't want to interrupt you, but
that's a very important
it's all
point,
our
because
opinion.
opinion is opinion. In my journey with it, I have not found any real outside help for me. I think it's out there. I just couldn't find it other than through my friends and falling down a lot, picking myself up, and moving on.
But don't you think that gives a lot of hope to people?
I hope
it gives
so.
hope to me to see you succeed. And even when you fell down and you called me, and I got as a friend of an alcoholic, I got a pit in my stomach because I knew what you were going through. I knew what was going through your mind, or I thought I did. I had a good idea, and I knew you were going through pain. And it was really hard to watch, but it's very beautiful to watch you getting better, and you getting your sense of humor back, and you getting your smile back, and looking healthy. You're getting color in your face. And when we talk on the phone, you sound great. So
thanks.
I'm really happy about that. Fear of failure. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about future relapses?
Well, again, one day at a time, one moment at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 minute at a time. Cross that bridge when you get to it, and try not to beat yourself up. Try not to... Well, real quick, it was yesterday I had a trigger. I did get a bottle of wine, and I didn't like it.
Awesome.
I was like, well, this wasn't any fun.
That's good.
I'm tired. I missed my whole day. Thank God I woke up in enough time to watch Saturday Night Live. But I think as you sober up, your body starts reacting differently to this alcohol or whatever it is.
It does. And I think that's why a lot of people end up dead. I think that happened with Amy Winehouse. She went to therapy. She went to rehab, got clean, and don't hold me to this. I think this is correct. And then she started drinking. And what happens is your body gets out of... it habituates to the alcohol at first, but then when you quit drinking, your liver gets to a different point. And so when you drink as much as you did before, your body can't handle it. So you die. And a lot of people die like that. So how do you quit drinking? You set goals. You know, I don't know what you think, Jay, but just seeing you have goals is helpful to me as your friend to be able to support you more.
I would say be kind to yourself. I don't mean be an egomaniac and love yourself like a Barbie doll. I'm saying be kind. If you love your friends that much that you would forgive them, wouldn't you do the same for yourself? I know they would.
Exactly.
And I know the love you have showered on me, thank you, has been a beacon of hope.
Well, and I think that goes back to the stigma, don't you? That if you know how you feel, put yourself in their shoes. I would never want you to hurt like that, or I would always want to support you no matter how embarrassed you are or anything like that. So you should know if you're out there needing support that everybody you know probably loves you enough to work with you through that, that you shouldn't be embarrassed to go to them. So you should identify your triggers. What are your triggers?
Oh gosh, my phone calls with my family. I mean, not all of them, just select two.
Those are the main ones, huh?
And any negative thing like the wasp on the mower.
That's a pretty, yeah. But I'm really happy that you didn't drink with the wasp on the mower. That's awesome.
Yeah, well,
that's a big step. That's a big step. So one of the things you should do, seek support, consider professional help if you feel like you would benefit from it. Identify your triggers. And once you identify your triggers, you can think of some coping skills to go with those triggers. Okay, if this happens, if a wasp happens, then I'm not going to go drink. I'm going to go sit down and play a game or whatever, and then go back 30 minutes later and see if the wasp is still there. So maybe handle it differently. Stay busy and active. That's one of the really big things. Do you find yourself with idle hands? I mean, what do you do?
Learning to stay busy. Like I said, I get up at like 4 a.m. I did laundry. I did dishes. I started to mow. Took trash. I mean,
just normal stuff.
Yeah, and played video games, of course.
Yeah.
That's enjoyment for me. And coming here and staying busy is very, very helpful.
That's good. And celebrate your milestones and be persistent. You guys out in Chix land, that's what I want to tell you is be persistent. Just remember, if you do run into problems or you feel like you're alone, to reach out. Always reach out. And let me find that number again. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services hotline is 1-800-662-HELP or 662-4357 or call 988. But don't just go inside yourself and don't just let yourself drink yourself to death. What do you have to say about it, Jay?
Hear, hear.
Amen.
Yes.
That's good. Well, thanks for joining us this week, and hopefully we'll have some more good information for you. If you have any problems, reach out to people that care.
Yeah. Reach out to a friend, family. If you have a church, go to church. If you've got a walking club, do that. Anything that can get your mind off of your problem or your small universe that needs to reach out and expand.
Volunteering helps a lot because then you can think about somebody else's situation. So I recommend that a lot. But
good idea.
Yeah. 1-800-662-HELP if you ever need help. And if you ever want to reach out and give us comments or ideas of things to talk about, it's the number 2 Mental Chix, CHIX @gmail.com. 2 Mental Chix @gmail.com. It was great this week, Jay, talking. Have a good one.
You too. Thanks for having me.
Bye.